Welcome back to Bear With Me. The Boston Bruins are not dead yet and get a game back in the series against the Florida Panthers to make the series 3-2. My name's Joey Copponi. That's Rob Tocci. Rob, what's going on, buddy? We missed game 4.
We sure did.
We're sorry.
We are sorry. And we know there was a lot going on. We felt that everybody else handled it pretty well. There comes a time when you're like, everybody's just kind of saying the same thing. We didn't feel great after game 4. So we're like, are we really going to log on, record 20 minutes of being like, what was that goaltender interference call? These refs aren't great. Bruins don't look good. This sucks. All right. Thanks for bearing with me.
It would have been doomsaying too. Because at the time it was like, well, this is fucking over. Have fun losing in either game 5 or game 6. Like it's fucking over. So that it didn't feel like there was anything cheery that we could do. And also we almost burst a blood vessel after game 3. So I didn't really feel like getting on here and yelling again. And if you were like, dude, I have to get this out, we got to do this, I probably would have like been dragged along. But I think we were both in the position where we were waiting for the other one to drag us along. And I was like, dude, I am absolutely not going to fight to do this. Like I will freak out. In retrospect, probably should have, because there was so much stuff. So how about we do a double episode? We talk about both games. We talk about all the stuff because there is so much stuff. And there's nothing really from game 3 that isn't still relevant now in terms of the off the ice, larger picture, officiating, the big stuff that you guys are all aware of.
3 or 4?
4.
There, you had to think about it.
I did.
Yeah, that's the plan here. Like we said, there was a lot going on. We felt everybody handled it, but even still, like, we like to talk about it. I mean, we've been talking about it. We just haven't been recording it. So I got my notes pretty well structured here, so we can just walk through them. And we'd start with talking about how the most definitive angle of Sam Bennett sucker punching Brad Marchand was only revealed 20 minutes before game 4. And when I say revealed, I don't mean to us. I don't mean to TNT. I mean everybody. Because apparently the Bruins themselves, the NHL themselves, the powers that be, did not see that camera angle. Which, that implies a few things.
What does it imply?
It's like, it implies that there's someone out there who doesn't control the league that is just gatekeeping camera angles for some reason. You would assume that they would have total control over it, but apparently not. But also the biggest implication is that the NHL did not do a very good job investigating the hit.
They didn't do a job. They didn't
do anything. And it comes out, they're like, oh, we haven't seen this one. And you might think, based off of, again, it being the most definitive angle, we already knew what happened. But watching it from there, you're like, oh, come on. Like, do you need a written confession? Like, what else are you looking for here? But even with the angle, the NHL doubled down per Emily Kaplan. And basically we're like, yeah, that does not change your opinion. We just think that's two guys playing hockey. Just a hockey play. That's it.
That's what hockey is, dude. What? Listen, maybe if you didn't play the game, dude, okay, you wouldn't get it. Okay, that's hockey. That's what hockey is.
PK Subban.
PK Subban said it.
Yeah, it's same place.
He played the game, so he gets it.
Oh, dude, that was one of the... Sorry, go ahead.
This is such a fucking dad-own, like such... I feel so fucking old saying this, but I'm still going to say it because it's cheesy, but I'm going to say it anyway. I hope he says that to Brad's face. I hope that he gets invited to Brad Marchand's Hall of Fame induction, and it is the one time, other than a couple of other of his teammates getting in there, that he gets to stand outside of those pearly gates. And I hope he says it directly to Brad Marchand's face that he deserved that brain injury, because that's what it is. It's a brain injury. We like to dance around it and be, a head injury, an upper body injury. He's in concussion protocol. It's a brain injury. It's a brain injury. So to say that he
36-year-old man getting concussed in the twilight years of his career.
That's awesome, PK. I hope that's a really cool opinion to have in your buttoned up suit behind a desk, bro. That's sick.
Further quotes from that moment is him saying, yeah, there's like times like he's gotten people over his career. Quote, in this case, he was the hydrant, not the dog. It's just part of the game.
Yep. Just part of the game.
What? come on. And then someone, a bigger Bruins Twitter account was basically like, fuck off with that. And he even responded, he's like, oh, tell me how you really feel. And they're like, yeah, no, fuck off. Like, what a trash take. And
Yeah, I
I could have sworn that he was in team. Yeah, that was a sucker punch, but apparently not. I know he is in support of the game 4 goaltender interference scenario being like, wow, what a missed call. So maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But I
thought we were all on the same side that players shouldn't be taking sucker punches at other players. I thought we could all agree on that one. It's fucked up that we all can't be on the same page with that. It is cool, really, not to jump ahead, but it is cool that there are a couple of things, i.e. the goalie in attendance. Jeez Louise, goaltender interference stuff that does have the league, like fan bases around the game, rallying around the Bruins. That kind of feels cool to be like, you guys really like us. You guys are on our side.
Supported. I've never felt more supported by the NHL at large. It's kind of weird. I don't like it. It's a lot of pressure.
And all it took was the league fucking us in the ass.
Repeatedly, like over and over and over again. And they aren't even just like separate. Like, I'll get into it, but they're like compounding. They're building off of each other. It is outrageous, the amount of shit that's been going on. And again, the gaslighting around the Sam Bennett punch too is what's driving me up a goddamn wall. Is because not only did it happen, and not only do people not believe it happened, but they're actively being like, wow, you're really making mountains out of molehills. You're really just making something that was nothing into this whole hullabaloo. It's like, what are you talking about? Nothing. They're like acting like we don't have multiple angles and tons of video evidence of this happening and history of Bennett doing exactly that play. Chris Kringle looking fucker.
No pull-up doing fucker.
No pull-ups in the NHL Combine. No pull-ups.
It's actually insane. But
I can't do a pull-up.
What's the worst thing about PK is that I think he's the first legitimate analyst that I've heard say this. And I don't know if he's the only one, but to my knowledge, he's the only one. And that's just bad. Like, up until this point, it was just morons on the internet, like, not to get all political here, Rob, but I'm going to. There were times where there were morons on the internet and morons in the world who like had dumb, bad opinions, right? And you just ignored those people. And then someone somewhat legitimate in a suit coat gets on your television and says it, and you go, oh, I can say that louder now. Oh, that's a real thing that's a real opinion that I can share with the world. I don't have to sit on that just because my family tells me I'm a monster for having that opinion. So now people are being louder about it because geez Louise, I can't talk today. PK Subban offered some legitimacy to the opinion that sucker punching a guy is just a part of the game. I don't think it is. It's
just Steve a hockey Dangle, play, Joe.
Can we give Steve Dangle like a little bit of a little aplomb?
Oh yeah.
That's applause.
I like it. I like him when the Bruins aren't playing the Leafs. He's usually got a good eye for like everything. It's just when Toronto's more involved, the glasses go on, and we do it too.
And I think ours do too. Ours do too. Yeah, we butt heads. We don't butt heads. He's not aware of us, but still, it's like
not yet. We'll have him on. I want him on. Again, talking about gaslighting. Not only were a lot of the broadcasts being like, I don't know. I think the TNT, I think Biz and crew were actually the ones who unearthed that other angle, and they were the one like, okay, this is like pretty odd. Even the hockey subreddit. I don't know how many of our listeners actually have ever frequented or seen it. They do not care for Boston, and over the decade have been going on, do not like Boston. Even then, they're like, this is clearly a punch to the head. Like, what? Mm-hmm. But what's one of the worst developments from this too is that they started spinning this new narrative that like, all right, well, yeah, he went down there, but he did keep playing. And then later in the game, he hit somebody shoulder to shoulder, and like maybe he got a concussion from that. So like, I think that's really what happened.
The fact that they kept
you don't think it's him getting punched into the side of the head and then collapsing and not being able to stand? You think it's when he went shoulder to shoulder? Fuck off. You joking? You can't even believe that. I don't believe you believe that. If you say to my face, yes, Bennett sucker punch Marchand, but I don't really care because it's Marchand. I don't have much of a retort to that. Like, I don't think you're a great person. I don't love the take, but like, what can I say to that? Like, yeah, that's shitty. It should be equal, but if you don't think it is, whatever. But for you to be like, no, that's not what did it. It was this other hit that was not anything at all, obviously. And again, the fact that it was being said on the broadcast, Defuma even calls it out. They're like, that's the narrative they're going to run with. Because the league is well past the point where they can acknowledge what happened. They even had a second opportunity when that new angle came out. They could be like, you know what? We didn't see this. This changes our minds. $5,000 fine. Sorry about that. Nope. Just a hockey play. We're just men. We're just innocent men.
The no fine is fucking bananas. No fine is crazy. Just nothing. Like, listen, I would have been livid if it was a $5,000 fine, because then they're saying, yeah, we saw it and we think it's not suspension worthy. I'd still be sitting here screaming. Don't get me wrong, but I'd be screaming at that because it's not enough, and they didn't even hit that bar. Now there has been some attention called to the staffing of the video replay staff. Are you aware of this?
I'm not.
I don't want to make any large claims, but I think you should go. I think you should go and look at who the head of the video review department is, and I think you should look at who his son is, and I think you should look at what his son does for a living, and what hockey team he owns. So,
could it be the Florida Panthers?
It's the Florida Panthers. It's the Florida Panthers, and he played for the Florida Panthers, and yeah, so.
I don't like the tinfoil hat shit. Don't like. I'm not even getting mad at you right now. I'm just like, I hate when there's like validity to it. I hate when you're like, shit, that does line up, doesn't it?
I know.
Because I'm not.
And again, to like to the conversation of like people adding legitimacy to things, the fact that the other 30 fan bases are like, yeah, you guys are right. Well, this is fucked. The league is like rigged for Florida. Makes me think like, oh my God, are you guys right? Am I not a crazy person? Like, is this hat not tinfoil?
Like, I've been trying to like suppress these thoughts for so long, and I don't want to get into it yet because we'll get into it when the time is right. But when that play was blown dead in Game 5, I was like, they're not even hiding it. They're not even hiding it anymore. That there's just nothing. All right, I got to stop. Otherwise, I am going to get into it. But you know what I mean. Also, again, the Bennett thing, people being Bennett's opinion, I believe, is that he was just bracing himself, which, you know, I brace myself when I fall by shoving my fist into someone's face, you know, whatever. And even if it wasn't intentional, which I believe it was, he still did it. That's still a suspendable action. Even if the intent wasn't to injure him, you punch someone in the head, they're concussed and they're out of the playoffs right now. That is still a suspendable action. It's every angle of this speaks to Bennett should have been at least fined. Oh, yeah, you have to cross-check McDavid. That's the only thing that gets you suspended from the playoffs. Because you have the NHL has to protect their investment. I love that quote.
I love that was also one game suspension. That pissed me off. If I was an Oilers fan,
it's the playoffs.
Don't care. You cross-check Connor McDavid in the fucking throat, dude. I'd be pissed. Give him 3.
How many games did Nazem Kadri get when he cross-checked DeBrusk?
I have no idea.
I remember it just being like the rest of the series, but I don't even remember how many games it got. It's implying it was multiple. Can they just say you're suspended for the rest of the first round? Is that really how it works? I think they did. Okay, well, yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the development pre-game 4 of just will say, oh boy. Yeah.
I will say, I don't know what Bennett should have said. I will give him that. Where like
there's nothing. No.
I know, yeah. So like him saying like I was bracing, yeah, sure. Like that's what you're supposed to say. Like I don't even think you acknowledge it, right? Like I don't think you're supposed to. Like if I was his lawyer, you know, or you know whatever the equivalent is in this situation, I'd be like, don't say shit. Just say you were bracing and hope Brad's okay.
Yeah, I agree, which is why I don't get too hung up on quotes from the players or even coaches. It's like they're in a box. Like they can only say so much. I do.
Mhm.
What would happen even if he did say, "Yep, I got away with it"? Like it's too
Yeah.
late. Like they can't be like, "Oh shit!" Like the NHL would not
I
be
mean,
thrilled. I'm
they probably
sure.
could,
I don't think
right?
they could. That'd be crazy. I mean, he'd be dumb to do that, but it's. And again, we'll get more into this as we go along. But I hated the Florida Panthers last year, and I've grown to hate them more than any other team. Playing them 2 years in a row in the playoffs will do that for you.
Yeah.
But they have the worst culture imaginable. Like their play style
Heat
is
culture,
just, we're the
baby.
rough
Heat
and tough
culture.
Panthers, but if you breathe on us, we will collapse and draw a penalty. Like
Mhm.
you don't get to do both. And like, not to say the Bruins don't, embellish or draw calls, but like
Sure.
it is unbelievable how consistently they do that. And the only thing that's worse than them doing it over and over again is them getting the calls over and over again. At what point are you just like, hey, we know you did this 7 times in the last 2 days, but that one looked pretty real. It's
Yeah.
crazy to me. Oh my Lord. Game 4.
Well, that is our pregame of the game that happened before this game. And now we're gonna take an ad break. So this might be a long one, folks. Buckle up because we should have done a game after game 4.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break, talk to our good friends over at Prize Picks.
Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Prize Picks is so easy to play. I can make my Celtic picks and make my entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals and easy gameplay and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. Celtics and NBA fans, you can get in on Prize Picks in 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. On Prize Picks this week, I'm selecting Jason Tatum to dish out more than 5 assists and his teammate Jaylen Brown to have more than 22.5 points. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Prize Picks.
All right, let's start the game before the game that we are doing the show about.
Sounds good. We don't have to get too bogged down. There's obviously one big thing from this game that will take up most of our time talking about it. But talking again about, before I get into the officiating, I always want to lay down a healthy foundation of the Bruins lost that game. The Bruins lost that game.
Yes.
They just did. They did. They did not play well. They had 18 shots, 3 in the third. They lost that game.
Can I just say something?
Go ahead, Joe.
When a game is a 1-goal game and one of the goals shouldn't have counted, I don't know if I can say the Bruins lost that game. It was a 1-goal game. One of the goals shouldn't
That's
have
really
counted.
how I feel, to be honest. I think I'm just kind of
The
wanted to get
Bruins
ahead of
played
a
a
little bit.
shitty game. They played a bad
That's
game.
better. That's better.
But
That's a
if
better
you're
way to
going by
put
the
it.
rule book, 60 minutes didn't decide who scored more goals. So
Yeah. But anyway, bad officiating. Starting with, there was a high stick against Pat Maroon on Matt Tkachuk.
sure.
Was nothing there.
Right.
I think it maybe glanced off the side of his helmet, but like one of these days, Matt Tkachuk is actually going to give himself whiplash from how aggressively he's throwing his head back.
Mhm.
I don't think there's a man in the NHL who embodies the fake tough guy more than Matt Tkachuk.
Oh yeah, somebody called
Like
him a tough guy opportunist. I really
okay,
liked
yeah, that's
that.
it.
Yeah.
He would fight Mike Tyson if there was a referee between him and Mike, and there was no possibility Mike could actually do anything. He would be like, "I'd take him."
Yeah. He'd
It's and
fight
it's so.
60-year-old Mike Tyson from the back.
What's crazier is that he's big enough to legitimately be a tough guy. He's not like
Yeah,
Marchand out there, although Marchand's tough in his own right. It's you got the makings, dude. You're a nasty hockey player. Just stop being an asshole out there.
You know what's this is a testament to what a vile bag of dog shit that Sam Bennett is. That we're sitting here. You just gave a very earnest compliment to Matthew Tkachuk. Like Matthew Tkachuk, the spotlight has shifted so far away from him in Bruins fans' mind. Yeah, it's like seeing him is like, oh yeah, right, yeah, no, hit him. Yeah, no, I don't like him. Right. I forgot. Like my eyes are just trained to be like, where's number 9? Where's number 9? Where's number 9? I want Sam Bennett's head, and it's like Matthew Tkachuk is there. But But yeah, no, I mean, I feel the same way. It's like, yeah, you're still like a loser, bro, but like you're not driving my blood pressure up single-handedly. Like, I just think you're kind of sad now. Like, I just think it's kind of makes you look like more of a loser, that you're like not even good at being an antagonist anymore.
I just don't think he wants to steal Bennett's thunder right now. He's like, we don't need two heels in this series.
It's captain mentality. Put the C on his chest.
There's been worse captains before. And then another penalty on Hampus Lindholm for interference against Oliver Ekman-Larsson. A play in which OEL hits himself in the face with his own hands, giving him the old "why are you hitting yourself" routine. Which obviously, that's interference. Better call that interference.
He hurt him, dude. Didn't you see how hard his head snapped back, dude?
He interfered with his ability to not be a shitty hockey player.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. But luckily nothing happened on the ensuing power play other than, Sam Bennett cross-checking Charlie Coyle into Jeremy Swayman and then scoring. But obviously you can't do that. So Jim Montgomery challenged it. And obviously quick review and it was overturned. Except no, it wasn't, because everything is pain and I want to die. Yes, Joe.
I'm glad you saw what happened. I thought I might have to break the news to you right now. I thought I might have to tell you that no, they did count that. They did count it. I checked.
They counted it big time.
I checked online, and every 20 minutes I see a new person tweeting the video with their take about how it's goaltender interference. So I'm very, very sure that they did count it, and I'm very sure it shouldn't have counted. I've calmed down. I've since calmed down. But
quiet rage.
Robert, we were text messaging on our cell phones to each other during this game.
SMS.
Yes. And let me tell you, there was a big gap in when I was responding here. I said like, no way. Dude, you ever yell and kind of scare yourself? You ever yell and scare yourself a little bit and you go like, oh my God, like, one, didn't know I could get that hot that quick. Two, feeling a little lightheaded, I need to sit down. Doubled up on those two fears. And then it's like, it's so rare that something happens that unites an entire hockey world. Like, even sucker punching Brad Marchand in the face, knocking him out, still had people being like, nah, not really. Even PK Subban, even Steve Dangle, even Lucifer himself got to Twitter, got the thumbs rolling and was like, that's fucked up. That's bullshit. That makes no fucking sense. The only moron that I've seen say anything other than that is the Florida Panthers play-by-play, who I hope you remember, Rob. I told you I was in Florida listening to them. Do you remember me telling you?
Remember you talking about the radio? I don't know if I remember the
that was
Panthers.
The Lightning Radio Panthers TV. Unlistenable, dude. People shed on Jack Edwards for years. I genuinely believe it's because it was the only local broadcast that people ever saw. Oh my Lord. Like, how about you focus on being better at your job before you come at anybody else's? Like, oh my good God, is he awful at his gig? And I would say that regardless of what he had to say about this goaltender interference goal. But I don't know, read the book. Check the book. Do you have the book right now?
Me?
Don't you have the book? Yeah, don't you have the book?
So I have the very specific rule about that very specific instance, if that's what you're talking about.
Okay.
Would you like me to read it? If a defending player has been pushed, shoved, or fouled by an attacking player so as to cause the defending player to come into contact with his own goalkeeper, such contact shall be deemed contact initiated by the attacking player for purposes of this rule, and, if necessary, a penalty assessed to the attacking player, and if a goal is scored, it would be disallowed. It sounds like somebody watched that play and was just like, I'm going to write this into the rule book. That's how much it applies. Like, it couldn't be more written for this exact fucking scenario. Also, please take note, there is no comment about the likelihood of the save being made. That is so irrelevant. If at any point, and you telling me why that goal should have stood, and you say anything along the lines of, Swayman wasn't making that. You're an idiot. And you're showing the fact that you're not concluding your opinion based off of the actual facts or the rule or what happened. Because it doesn't matter. Also, yes, he fucking could have. It's Jeremy Swayman.
That's the bigger thing.
That's the thing. Everyone's like, it's not like it was so incredibly possible for him to make that save. There was enough time, enough space. Swayman tracked it the whole way. He wasn't looking on the other side of the fucking ice. If there's any goaltender alive right now who would have made that save, it would have been Jeremy Swayman. And it would have been a great save. It wouldn't even have been the best save of the playoffs. It wouldn't have been. It would have been a great save, but it oh my God, I'm getting worked up again.
It's a save I'm confident he makes. But also, it's like saying a guy shouldn't get a minor for high sticking because that guy probably wouldn't have scored.
Yeah.
It's like,
also,
that's not the rule.
You know who else might have stopped that goal? The player that Bennett just cross-checked. There was 2 different Bruins who could have and likely would have stopped that goal, but Bennett committed a penalty against one. Yeah. And then he, in doing so, committed another penalty. So when I was talking... Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, real quick. In a vacuum there, what's crazy also is that they saw Charlie Coyle get cross-checked in the back and fall forward. And they were like, well, that's not really what we're looking at here. Let's just keep going. You know what I mean? Like, even goaltender interference aside, that is if that happens anywhere but the front of the net amidst the scrum, that is just a cross check. And it should be called there too. And I understand it's playoff hockey. I understand. But also, no, I don't. How do you watch that back and be like, there's nothing here? There's nothing at all? There's nothing.
The official explanation. The official explanation was that the shove by Bennett on Coyle and the subsequent contact on Swayman did not prevent Swayman from playing his position. He has Charlie Coyle laying on top of him. What do you mean? What do you mean it didn't prevent him? It couldn't have prevented him anymore. Oh my God.
Bro, just because I tied those 40s to your hands doesn't mean I prevented you from, I was going to say driving home. Maybe I shouldn't. Driving home. I didn't stop you from doing that. It's crazy. That's not even a good analogy. I just tried to come up with something on the fly. It's a lie. I mean, it's gaslighting. It's a lie. To be like, no, we could have made that save. That didn't stop him. What are you talking about?
But also, he probably wasn't going to, so don't worry about
it. Yeah.
The fact that the mental gymnastics here are insane. And the fact that it's Bennett. This is what I want to talk about.
Bennett really should have played into their role. I'm sorry, it should have.
Okay, this is what I was talking about earlier. When I was talking about that, not only is there a lot of bad officiating, these decisions aren't siloed. They're compounding. And this is the best example of that. Let's recap. Sam Bennett, a player who should have been suspended, cross-checked a penalty, Charlie Coyle into Jeremy Swayman, goaltender interference, and then scored, which should have been disallowed, and it wasn't, tying the hockey game at 2-2. What? That's fine. And then people have the audacity to go online and be like, oh, well, all Bruins fans do is complain about the officiating. How would I not? How could I not watch this domino of travesties unfold and then just sit and be like, that's a shame. I'm fucking livid about it. Are you joking? If you're not upset and that's your team, you're brain dead. Outrageous.
And that's why I think people wanted Montgomery to say more about the officiating. And I get it. I get why people wanted it for a bunch of reasons. I also get why he wouldn't, because it does look whiny. It does cause a fine, which shouldn't matter, but I think it does. I think it matters to them. I know it shouldn't. Whatever, $5,000, $10,000, they'll be fine. But that's I don't know. You were. It sounds like you were more upset about that than I was. I don't know. I kind of shrugged and was like, whatever. I would rather it change than the coach have to bitch about it. But it's I know how he feels. I see him screaming on the bench. I don't also need him to say it in the presser. You know what I mean? I see the antics on the bench, and that was enough for me.
No, I wasn't too upset, and only in the heat of the moment was I want him and Sweeney to fucking burn it down. But like afterwards, that's the right opinion. That like all you do is look whiny, and it's the exact shit that we were burning Craig Berube for in 2019 doing. Also, because when he did it, it worked. It worked. And then they got the calls. So that's why I was like, okay, maybe we don't always take the high road. But
that's the thing. That's the one argument I do totally get. Is like if maybe you bitch hard enough and it changes, but also it doesn't seem like anything really would change because I don't know. The next game happened too.
And so a great segue here is that as a part, I think it was at the same time as Sweeney's presser, Patrick Maroon was available for comment, and he made a lot of comments, and I liked all of them. There's a conversation we had about why is Pat Maroon doing this presser? I love Maroon, tons of experience, but why is it not a captain? What is happening? What were you going to say?
I liked most of what he said. I got a little worried a couple of times.
Ooh, hit me with the worries before I go into what I liked.
I like Pat Maroon, right?
Okay.
And I think he could be a valuable piece here for another year, right? I would like that. I understand everybody says that about rentals when they're having like a good playoff run. It's not a new take to be like, hey, this guy who's like fun in the playoffs, I would like to see more of him. Obviously, I know, but
Tyler Bertuzzi.
There's a whole bunch of Dmitry Orlov.
Garnet Hathaway.
Yeah, I'm more him than anyone.
Still want him back.
I miss him a lot. But now we got Pat, and I would like to keep him. And Pat was frustrated. Did you see the videos, or did you read the quotes?
Just the quotes.
Okay. In the video, there was a part that wasn't quoted that I think should have been, where he said, like, he looked out at the media and he goes, you guys are running with a narrative, and to be honest, I'm not really happy about it, or I'm getting pretty pissed about it, I think is what he said.
I have that quote here. I have that written.
Oh, you do? Okay. Yeah.
Which was actually what I was about to say. I was going to say, this is the perfect segue. That's what I was getting into. Is the quote from him talking about like, oh, we don't want him to go out there and bitch about the officiating because it just comes off whiny and it's not the thing. His quote is, it's frustrating that you guys are trying to do a narrative right now for fucking nothing, to be honest. We got to win a fucking hockey game. That's what it comes down to. Unfortunately, what happened, we got to turn the page. We got to find a way. Which, you know what? That is one of the things I do like. And that kind of was like, he's right. Like that is right. Like we can, as fans, we can complain, and we will, and I choose to. But it does come down to like, they just need to win, and that's it. Like it doesn't do them any good for them to engage in the like, refs, what's going on? Mm-hmm. Unless it does, unless you're Craig Berube. But
I just don't like him getting frustrated with the Boston media. I was like, oh, no. Wait. Guys, changed. Guys, if Pat doesn't like it, we change it.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was important to hear. For me, anyways, I can only speak to myself. But hearing that and just seeing, we got to win a game. That's it. And I like the focus that implies, and being like, they're not in the locker room being like, I can't believe that call. They're just like, it doesn't matter. Like, it sucks and it happens, but like, unless we win, it's so irrelevant. Is there a car alarm going off where you are? No, it's where I am. It's driving me up a wall.
Well, I can't hear it. Maybe our listeners can. My hearing ain't great.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
Well, yeah, I'm more concerned about like why was it Pat? Why was it not somebody else? I think it might have just been an availability thing of like just who was there and who was who might have been physically in the building at the time. But still, and then I think the weirder thing. I think the weirder thing was the fact that Sweeney was like, all right, I got to talk to you guys. I got something I got to say. And then he sat down and was like, I got nothing to say. Stop
what's so
complaining, please. The referees are fine. I was like,
what?
He didn't say the referees are fine. But he was like, I'm not going to talk about the referees. And it's like, we didn't even ask you to talk. Why are you here?
You don't have to do this, man. Like, nobody asked for this. Like,
hey,
you called me.
Up.
Like,
I got nothing to say. Okay.
It's like when
all right, man. Thank you.
It's like my mom will call me and I'll be like, hey, what's up? She's like, I got nothing. And I was like, why are you calling? Like, okay. Like, Good to hear from you. Thanks,
He was just
Don.
doubling down. And the thing is, people were already upset that Monty didn't say anything about the officials. So for Sweeney to be like, hey, me too, is crazy.
The first thing
like,
he said is, I'm not going to talk about the officials. But to be fair, he did in the sense that he was like, he was basically calling for the NHL to make the officials available for comment after the game.
Yeah.
And it's smart because we want to talk about it and people want to ask the players questions about it because they decide the game a lot of the times. Not every time and not always to the same degree, but they greatly affect the game. And the fact that they're gone. Like you cannot speak of them. Do not acknowledge them. If you even say their name, we will fine you. Also, all this talking about like, oh, they're just going to get fined. You're so rich. I don't care. Like I'm not getting fined. Oh, they hit you with 50 grand. Too bad. Go out to dinner less.
I saw somebody point out, like, you know, kind of slimy to have your whole culture be, hey, take less to come here because we're a prestigious organization, and then also be afraid of a little fine. You know,
it's fine.
Yeah, not pay your employees and building staff when COVID happens, and then and be afraid to take a little
about
fine.
That, man.
Yeah,
make the seats smaller so you make more money,
and then be afraid of a little fine. Yeah. So like, yeah, that did rub me the wrong way. But here's the thing about the officials. Real quick note here, not to jump ahead, but did you recognize who the
it was Steve Kazari, wasn't it?
It was Kazari.
I didn't even know that, but I knew it. You know what I mean? Like
he's the one who. Yeah, he's the one who blew
Rooney
the bad on the.
He's the one who's supposed to be biased for us by tackling David Pastrnak in the middle of a play. Good stuff. As we were talking about that, I'm now thinking that Maroon's playoff experience, veteran status, immediate insertion into the leadership core, he probably got delegated to be. They're probably like, Pat, can you do this? Or he was even like, yes, I will do this. I don't think it was I don't mean to imply that like Pastrnak, McAvoy, they're like, I'm not fucking saying anything.
Yeah.
Because again,
I don't know. I think
I liked what he said.
Yeah, I liked what he said. It just felt like it felt like an availability thing. It just felt like who was there and who was around to talk.
Yeah,
and I hope that's what it was, but still, I didn't.
He also took it as yeah, it's fair. He also took it as an opportunity to address the fact that now I seen the taker through Twitter. I've gotten some people in our replies being like, "Well, Pat's useless. All he does is talk," and he had a good perspective on it. He says, "You can sit here to say I'm not doing my job. Maybe I'm not. But like I said before, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. And I don't want to put my team in jeopardy. I don't want to take a suspension, and I don't want to put my team on a penalty kill. I'm doing everything I can. I talked to my captain. I talked to the guys in that locker room. They know I care, and that's the most important thing." Basically saying, short of him like taking the instigator in a suspension and beating the shit out of somebody completely against their will, he can't really do anything if nobody on that Florida bench is willing to go with him, which no, they shouldn't from their perspective, because they completely render him, and I don't want to say useless, but they take away his most effective tool if they just don't engage with them, which is kind of what's been happening. Which it's kind of eye-opening in a way. It's like, man, the NHL really is trending away towards that, because all you have to do is like ignore him, and it's he can't do one of the main facets of his job. Mm-hmm. But I hate the implication that like, oh, he's doing his talking, he's not even trying. It's like, it's not fully up to him, and like he is doing shit. And someone's like, he's getting so much ice time. Like, he played 8 minutes. He's on the fourth line. He's not even getting the lead. It's infuriating. So I think he wanted to use it as an opportunity to be like, hey, everybody, shut the fuck up. I'm trying to do what I do.
I don't think that he needed to. I don't think he needed to say that. I think we all saw that. I mean, he challenged the entire bench the game prior.
He did.
He was like tugging at Sam Bennett, who pretended that he was blind for a moment. Like I was like, yeah, shit, yeah, Pat, no shit, you know what I mean? Yeah, shit, no Pat. I can tell, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I didn't need that. I think if anybody thinks that, they're pretty stupid. And it made me, I don't know, again, a little weary of like, Pat, why do you care what the media is talking about? Why do you care the media is talking about the officials? Why do you care that there's some idiots who think that like you need to fight Matthew Tkachuk? Why do we care about that? We don't need to. It's okay. We know. The smart people with like brains, no, it's okay. Just you keep doing your thing, buddy. You keep doing your thing. You're doing great. Just keep doing it. But it kind of reflects back to like Pat was very aware of what Jack Edwards said. And like it just makes me think of all that stuff. You know, it was like, Pat, it's all good.
Chronically
Play the
online,
game.
Pat Maroon is a little surprising to me.
It kind of is. It's like, buddy, someone take Pat Maroon's phone. You play the game. You're doing a great job on the ice. Love what you're doing. A lot of fire. Feels like watching the Bruins again. But
cojones.
I don't need all the like, what are you saying about me stuff? Like, do your thing. Do your thing, brother.
Yeah, it's the people that would need to hear that. It's still falling on deaf ears for them. Like they don't hear that. And they're like, you know what? Fair.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
you know what else Pat Maroon
are
said
we ready
in
to
that
get
presser?
into?
No,
what?
we're not yet. Almost. He said one other thing that caught both of our attention.
Mm-hmm.
I love my captain.
How weird.
Pat Maroon.
How weird.
Brad Marchand bromance. I'm here for it. I love it. It's weird.
How weird.
It's weird, but I like it. Shitty for the rest of the league. They're like, oh no, they're combined. Like, they're putting their powers together.
When he said, I love my captain, it glossed over me the first time. And then I watched it back a second time. And
like,
when he said, I love
Brad.
my captain, I was like, wait, he's talking about Brad Marchand.
You're like
how weird is that?
Notes. You're like, that's Brad
Wait
Marchand.
a second. He is on the Bruins, right?
Who
yeah,
said
it took
this?
me a second. Yeah, it's very weird. But
and he meant it?
I also saw him hug him, Marshy give him a hug before Game 5. And say, like,
yeah,
let's go,
again,
Patty.
great segue going into Game 5 now. Yes, they did share. Sorry, you go ahead. You got something to say?
Before we go into Game 5, though.
Yes.
If you want to go to Game 6, I got a great app for you.
Tell me, Joe.
Game time!
Game time!
With the NBA and NHL playoffs underway and the MLB season in full swing, there might be no better time of the year for sports. And there's no better way to experience the games than in person. And to get into the building, there's only one app that I use, and that's Game Time. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and their lowest priced guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. The very best part, if you ask me, is the ability to get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you even buy. You want to know what your view is going to look like before you get your tickets, and Game Time is there to help you find the perfect seat. And if it's getting close to tip-off, or puck drop, or first pitch, don't worry, because Game Time's last-minute deals can save you up to 60% off when you buy last minute. Tickets are even available up to an hour after the game starts. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. We didn't mention this about Game 4. We could have mentioned it then. We could have mentioned it now. We could have mentioned this at the end of the show. But Paul Maurice is a slimy little fuck, isn't he?
I fucking don't worry. He's in the notes. We'll get to Paul Maurice. Don't you worry.
Cool.
I have
didn't
a
like
whole
any of his
section
stuff.
of my notes
Nobody
dedicated to Paul Maurice.
Nobody likes him. So all right, let's go to Game 5. Let's get into
Game 5.
This little joy of a hockey game.
To contextualize where I was at going into this hockey game, I am very sensitive to caffeine in my ripe old age of 29. But I was so very tired. I had a second cup of coffee around 2 p.m. Ruined the rest of my day. I forget it every time. So when this game was starting, I was physically nauseous from anxiety and being over-caffeinated. Not even remotely factoring in anything about the Bruins playing a Game 5 where they're down 3-1 in the series. Didn't even need to throw any of that fuel on the fire. Was doing just fine on my own, feeling like shit. So that was where my mind was at for the entirety of Game 5. So just everything that's happening, reminder that on top of that, I'm literally like throwing up from nausea. Good.
Right. Makes sense.
Fantastic. That's why most people throw up is nausea.
Yep.
But the Brad Marchand thing, yes. Brad Marchand ruled out for Game 5. Did practice earlier, but did not participate in either of the power plays, which is when you really knew, okay, he's not playing. Even from the clips of him playing, you're like, he's taking it easy. That's Austin Matthews practicing in the morning before most games in the first round. But he was there in the tunnel when they were going out, and he was giving everybody a big old hug. And I'll tell you, man, you forget that Brad Marchand is 5'9" sometimes and what that looks like.
And off skates, he's 5 foot less than that.
Yes. Yeah. So him out of gear next to the team in gear, you're like, that is a child. That's somebody else.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
Seeing like Carlo hug him and he's like holding around
He
his
eclipsed
belly.
him.
Like, yeah.
He just disappeared.
Yeah. Brad's face like right smack dab in the middle of the B. Like, it's crazy.
Love it. But I loved so much that he was there, that he did that.
Yeah.
He gave a pregame speech, apparently. They had his jersey hanging in his stall all game. They're acting like Brad Marchand died. And you know what? Whatever works. It's fine. I like it. So that was good.
I think until the Bennett shit gets resolved to just the smallest extent, it's gonna feel like that. Even if Brad comes back, when Brad comes back, I don't think he's actually dead. I think he will come back at some point. It's just not gonna be. It's not going to be resolved because there's no reason for it to be resolved. So yeah, they should be absolutely focused on it. Every second they should be reminded, like, your captain's not out here because of them. And they didn't even get any kind of repercussions for it. In fact, they've been rewarded on the ice by the officials over and over again. They have gotten, the long end. Do you say it like that? They get the long end of the stick. They've gotten the benefit of every doubt, and your captain isn't here because of them. So like, remember that. I think they needed that because they played without fire. So many instances in this series, 3 games where they just looked so lifeless. Like, maybe they need that reminder. Maybe that is what it takes. Get Brad in there all the time.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of their backs against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
The first time they faced an elimination game in the series that wasn't potentially eliminating the other team too.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that if you win this game, it's very likely that Brad gets to play again in this series.
Yeah,
you get the extra day of rest between games 5 and 6, coming back to Boston. He was skating for game 5 practice. Nothing even whispering right now, but like, it feels possible for game 6, much more than it did for game 5. So I would think that factored into them being like, look, every quote they had, it was in some way about Marchand and like playing for him. And even when he's not out there, he's still leading the team. So I even like subconsciously and very consciously them playing to make sure that he gets another go at it.
I don't have any doubt that he will. I don't have any doubt that he will for game 6, especially with the extra day of rest.
And if he does, they're starting him. Obviously, the Garden is going to fucking blow up when they announce him for the starter. It'll be
like, it'll be like Chara standing on the blue line.
That's people are making that comparison. The 2019 Chara playing with a jaw wired shut.
Mm-hmm. Who broke that news?
Real bastard. It was
Watch
you.
Your mouth, bro. It was me.
You went really robotic there for some reason, but it worked. So core of game 5, I had to eat my words a little bit here regarding this take during this game, but I'm still sticking with it. Bobrovsky is a very overrated goaltender, at least in the context of this series. That's all I can really comment on because that's all I've really seen of him lately. I watch him and the eye test. I'm like, that's not the great. That is not a 2-time Vezina winner. He obviously is. No one's taking that away. He's even nominated again this year. But in this series, he has a 2.55 and an 8.92 in the playoffs. Also has a 7-2 record. So to me, it feels like the Florida is winning despite him. Their offense is just good that like they just need like okay goaltending.
He's also has 35 years of age.
He's
you know what I mean? Like,
almost
bad. He's taking a walker from the bench to the locker room. Do people know this? Am I breaking this right now?
You're breaking all the news.
He walks on a walker, and that he wears an actual diaper that Paul Maurice changes himself. Do people know this? If people don't know this, I'll be the first to say it. He has his food pre-chewed. He watches I Love Lucy, and sometimes he'll mistake his grandkids for his kids.
I got nothing. That's it. That's exactly it. And
like,
they have him in net.
Yeah, and they have him in
Imagine that. So the fact that he's saving 89% of the shots is pretty good.
It's actually really impressive.
If I had to take into consideration that he is 107.
Yeah.
Or 35, whichever one it was.
It doesn't matter.
Also, they threw up stats for Jeremy Swayman. Last 3 games, 0-3, a 4.57 goals allowed, and then 8.75 save percentage. That's tough.
Yep.
What's crazier is during all those games, at the end of all of them, we're like, wow, Swayman looked really good. So maybe there is something to Bob. I don't know. I guess I'm arguing against myself at this point. But they also threw in that in his first 7 games, his numbers were what we knew them to be. And like, wow, this guy's the best goaltender in the world right now, which is still my opinion.
Yeah, as it should be. As it should be. You know what Bob is, dude? Bob's a highlight goaltender. He has some amazing flashy saves that are going to make the highlight reels and that are going to go around on social. But like in game, it's like I never feel like he's shutting us down. I never feel like part of that is like there's just the volume of shots are not there from the Bruins. But I haven't felt in this series once. It's like, man, they just can't get through Bob. It's like, it doesn't take a golden opportunity to beat him. He doesn't control rebounds incredibly. I never feel like
rebound control is so bad. It's
bad.
so bad that I'm like, how have you guys not put together that the answer is maybe more than 15 shots a game?
And there's also this like double narrative where Pat Maroon and his media availability said like, we got to get more pucks on net. Mm-hmm. And that same day, Jim Montgomery says, we're not a volume shooting team. So what is it? Is there like an inconsistent? Do we not know how much we're supposed to be shooting the puck? Are people unsure? It's that
I didn't
made
know
me go a little crazy.
I can understand when you say like volume that maybe a strategy is you just throw literally everything on net, and why that's not always the best idea. But the idea of hearing a coach being like, no, we don't believe in a lot of shots and goal. It's like, well, maybe you should, because you don't win a lot of games when you don't.
Mm-hmm. Score when you don't shoot.
Yeah, correct. So that's
I think real quick, I think Jim Montgomery has PTSD of that one Jake DeBrusk wrap around the high glass goal. You know what I mean?
What goal?
You know what I'm talking about? This is
no.
God, what month was this? January? I think it was overtime. Jake DeBrusk takes that slapper from like top of the circle.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he shot it far side, it rimmed around because all the players are going down low and 3-on-3 and it came up.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I know exactly.
And then Monty was like, Jake knows not to take that shot.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he's still fixed on that, to be honest. I think he's still fixed on that. Like, you pick your fucking shots, dude. We're not taking bullshit shots. Whereas the players are like, we should probably be shooting more. So I don't know. That actually did grab my attention where I was like, are we on the same page as far as the game plan goes? Because it sounds like no.
They are now, at least.
Maybe.
In the first period of Game 5, your Boston Bruins had 13 shots. Woo! Woo! Kind of sad we're at a point where we're celebrating 13 shots and goal in a period. It's a good number. It's what you should be aiming for.
I mean, that's high.
Not something you should probably be cheering for.
I think that's high. A 39
no,
shot
it is. Because, I mean, you're right. That is. That's if you ended the game with 40 shots and goal, you're like, damn, you really got to him. Mm-hmm. My first note is honestly the geeky goal. I felt that they had a this is true for most of this game. I really liked their pace. Everything about their play felt more simplified. Very they weren't frantic, but they were moving. They had a good steadiness to their play. They didn't get overwhelmed very much, even like when the Panthers were overwhelming. But yeah, so that's general impression. And then going into the geeky goal, really great pass from McAvoy, who showed up for this game big time. Yeah. First start of the game.
Also real quick, just on the geeky goal, his 4th goal of the playoffs. Doesn't that feel wrong?
Yeah, it does.
Very wrong. But
the second of the series.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of that, though. Somebody was trying to say that he has the most goals on the team, but that's not true. That would be DeBrusk with 5. Pasternak and Geeky both have 4 goals right now. But again, the McAvoy pass down low, soft, indirect off the end boards to in coverage Jake DeBrusk, who loses his man, gets around the net, soft pass up front to Geeky. Geeky pulls it forehand to backhand, an aggressive move, very much like Justin Brazeau's goal. And Bob is so down and out, it's hilarious. Just way out of the crease and on his ass. Not a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And then tucks it 1-0. Oh my God, did I lose it? At this point, I was still very worried. I did not go into this game with any expectations whatsoever. I was like, all right, guess I'm going to watch a hockey game. And again, also nauseous. So even when that goal happened, I was like, damn, yeah. And then I was like, all right, Rob, control yourself. Protect your heart.
In no world should you feel confident in a 1-goal lead with the Boston Bruins as of late. No.
The fact this game ended 2-1 still gives me anxiety.
Insane. Yeah. I'm not sure it's safe yet.
No, I woke up nervous. I'm like, they didn't change the score, did they? But even not even 5 minutes in, the Bruins had 9 shot attempts. So they not only were they getting on net, but they were like clearly like that was the mantra for them. This game was like, get it on net, get the puck on net. And it didn't feel like they were just going for volume. It didn't just feel like they crossed the blue line, they throw it on. They were good shots. And like, again, the rebounds from Bob are outrageous. Like if you had the right guy at the right time, you can say that on any rebound. That's a goal. Which is why like you keep doing it because eventually it will go to you. At the 6:28 mark in the first period, Charlie Coyle was flagged for a hooking penalty, which in a series that is being defined for its poor officiating, still found a way to stick out as possibly one of the worst calls of this series. You watch it in real time, you watch it in slow-mo, you watch it zoomed in, you're like, I think I missed it. Did they mean to call this on somebody else? It was a one-handed play that there's just nothing there, man. It's in the first 10 minutes of an elimination game, and that's the threshold you're setting?
It says so much about the state of the officiating that, like you said, that's in the first 10 minutes of an elimination game. And I went like, whatever. Sure. Yeah.
It's just kind of like, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I texted you. I'm like, Bruins penalty. You already know it's going to be soft because I didn't even know what they were calling. Like so many times you're watching the player like, oh, yeah, there's a penalty. But when they're like, oh, Boston penalty. It wasn't even like prior to play and we had to go back and look at it. It just happened. I was just watching Charlie Coyle and they blew it dead. I'm like, what's the penalty on? Who is it on?
They should have just called too many men. They should have been like, don't count it.
I would have believed
Don't even check. Yeah, too many men. We got no replay.
Don't worry, we'll get there. Oh, that was frustrating. It's just outrageous. And then, we alluded to this before, the whistle being blown after Sergei Bobrovsky makes a save.
Say his name. Who blew the whistle?
Steve Kazzari?
Steve Kazzari blew the whistle. Just make sure we're saying his name because it wasn't the power. It wasn't the NHL that blew the whistle. It wasn't somebody. Steve blew the whistle.
I say this with no hyperbole. This is the worst whistle I've ever seen in watching hockey.
Ever.
Talk about unifying the NHL behind the Bruins. Not a single person alive is like, no, I get it.
I haven't even seen Florida Panthers fans like defending it or anything.
I think they know to just stay out
silent?
of this one. Yeah, I think they know to stay out of this one, which good.
I think they're getting a little nervous. They're like, Steve, maybe we don't make it so obvious. You know,
I know you're blowing it, Steve.
Have some subtlety, brother.
It's just, and half the comments about it are not even anger. They're just confusion. They're like, wait, why was it blown dead? Like, it's not even like, oh, that's bad. It's like, I'm confused. What happened? It's like, I'm confused too.
Yeah.
Pat Maroon clearly upset, immediately throw his hands up in the air. And the Bruins had possession and they were shooting the puck. You had Bobrovsky basically in the Pacific Ocean at that point. He was like 5 feet out of the crease. He was so out, and they blew it dead for nothing because they, one, thought he was injured, or two, thought he had the puck. Both of them, no, neither. I can't wrap my head around it, man. And it's not even an isolated incident. It is the fifth game in a series that has been defined by awful officiating. And again, this is like, 10, 12 minutes into the first period in an elimination game when the Bruins have the best scoring opportunity of the game, including when they've already scored. It's asinine, man. I don't get it.
You know who didn't get upset enough for me?
Who?
The commentary. They were like, I guess they're checking on Bobrovsky. Oh, interesting. And they just kind of moved on. They were just like, yeah, anyway, the NHL is brought to you by fucking whatever. Like,
It's part of the script.
Whoa. That blew my mind. I was like, can we not have a moment where we're like, what the fuck is going on the ice? Because that's how we all should have reacted. It's how everybody at home did.
Jack Edwards broke his TV. He had to have. There's not a chance that he was at home watching that and didn't break something.
I can hear it. I can hear him yelling about it.
There's so many good clips of him yelling about players being blown dead prematurely. I'd understand if he's unconscious. Gregory Campbell died on the ice and they didn't blow a whistle.
No.
Tuukka Rask didn't have escape blade and they didn't blow the whistle. People have been bleeding out of their head and they didn't blow the whistle. And Bobrovsky made a save. He didn't even feign an injury. That's it too. He wasn't even like, oh, my head, or like, oh, snapping my helmet off. Like it happened a lot in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. There's nothing there. There's nothing.
He just kind of awkwardly,
nothing in that play to imply that
awkwardly did this, like it might have whatever. He did the handcuff save. A second. For a quarter of a second. Yeah.
There's nothing to expand on here because it didn't get addressed. They immediately went to commercial and they came back and didn't talk about it again. We have no idea if there was any on ice explanation for it whatsoever. No, it wasn't brought up in any of the pressers because you're not allowed to talk about the official.
No.
Nor are they available for comment.
No.
Some fucking monarch. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I hate him. So that was just like, guys, we already are mad at you. You don't need to give us new reasons for it. Shortly after, there was like a 1 minute period where it just, the physicality of this game just peaked. Mm-hmm. And it started with Verhaeghe doing something that is genuinely impressive, and it is high-sticking Parker Wotherspoon and Charlie McAvoy at the same time. And getting zero penalties.
Well, I was going to say, did you know the rule that those cancel each other out? If you high stick two guys, it's like a double negative.
It would be the first ever double minor.
But,
a 4 minute, 5 on 4 minute. I wouldn't even know. It's not even minute. You can't even do the math. It can't be done. It's never been seen.
No, that's why they cancel out. So if you want to high stick somebody, you can. You just got to get two guys at once. But great. You got to make sure you do it right in front of the ref so he sees that you got both guys. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's the most important part. People forget about that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it helps if it's Steve Kassari.
Mm-hmm. That was insane.
Not only.
And they both went down is the bigger thing. They both went down.
They fell.
It's not like you don't notice it. They both went down. Two men go down holding their face, and there's a Panther stick in the air, and Kassari's like, play on.
Go. What do you want? So many of my notes are about the officiating.
It's horrible.
Battle on the boards. You know, nothing weird for a regular season game. Lundell goes down. Kiki's flagged for a cross check. Lundell's called for an embellishment, which we've talked about and many have talked about. How can it both be a penalty and an embellishment? Interesting.
I think it can.
I get it. There's enough there where it's a penalty, but you clearly amplified it even more to try to sell it. Like, I can see that perspective. It's like the Venn diagram. There is an overlap.
Yeah.
Not in this case. Kiki didn't cross-check him. He had it. He was, to me, a cross-check is like, my hands and stick are with me, and then I shove them out, and then I make contact with you with the stick. That, to me, is what a cross-check is. What he was doing was a board battle, where he was basically resting his hands, gloves, and possibly the stick on Lundell, and then shoving. Not a cross-check. And Lundell just went ass over tea kettle somehow. And this was like 5 seconds after they tried to draw another call, and they weren't able to also. And he goes down like a sack of potatoes. Penalty. At least they called the embellishment. Shocked. I don't think I've ever seen an embellishment called in the playoffs before. Yes.
Was this after Monty did his rendition?
I think this was the first time. He did it a couple times. I think this was the first, because he does it later with Luostarinen.
Yes.
But this was the initial like, and then the like death drop feign.
Mm-hmm.
This was the big one. But yeah, another part of the note here is the Monty gif. Is Monty? You hit the nail on the head that he's just a walking gif. I think you noticed that right at the perfect time, because ever since you said that, it has been the gift that keeps on giving.
He's been on fire.
I'm deeply proud of the Benz meme I made of him. It is the first thing I thought of when I saw him. I was like, that's Radiohead. And again, not a cross check. What are you gonna do? Move on. Shitty. At least they called them both 4-4. And then again, they end the period with 13 shots on goal, up 1-0. All right. You always feel like Florida's going to get 2-3 because they usually do. This is only the second game of the playoffs they've been held to 1 goal. The other game being game 1 against Boston. They got at least 2 every game against Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the second period, Verhaeghe takes what actually we talked about how too many men's probably the dumbest, most avoidable penalty you can take. I would like to change my answer to the closing your hand on the puck penalty. Not even in like a dire straits moment of like whatever, I'll take the penalty. He was just clearing the puck out of the zone with no one around him, and he just throws it. What are you doing?
You can't do that. Can't do that.
Cannot do that. Simply can't do it.
No. Well, I mean, I think we're pretty. I think we've really covered the topic that the Florida Panthers are not all too familiar with the NHL rulebook. So
Paul Maurice specifically forbade them from reading it on the off chance any of it stuck.
I mean, do you think that these guys listen to Paul Maurice?
I also don't think Matt Tkachuk can read.
That's a great point. And they had Gudas last year. I think he just left some of his illiteracy in the air.
I don't think Gudas knows how to talk. It looks like he communicates through grunts.
Ready to go, Radko?
Radko.
Yeah, he's a Pokemon. Right. He can only say his own name.
Radko.
Now we're on to something.
All right, here we go, man.
It's also around when Reinhart tied the game. Yeah. Not a whole lot there. I thought Swayman had a much better opportunity to stop it than he apparently did. And Lindholm was absolutely glued to Reinhart, and it didn't matter. So I don't know if that's him not being strong enough. I don't know if it's Reinhart being just making the play, whatever. Not enough on this goal. This is one of those,
like, it happens goals. I think.
That's it.
I mean, and it's a tough spot because it's a tying goal, but it's one of those like, that just that happens.
It was like the Florida's first goal in Game 4, that really quick one-timer shot that just was bang back in the net. You're like, oh shit, okay.
Oh, the Matt Tkachuk, yeah.
Like hey, people who hate Bruins fans, we're capable of this. We are. Like some goals go in, you're like, it's a goal. That's it. Yep. Whatever. This was one of those. Like, maybe could have made a better save. Whatever. You move on. Especially when your bona fide stallion shows up. Oh my goodness. Loved
Team USA goal.
I know. I saw that too. It is a carbon copy. Love the Charlie McAvoy goal for a few reasons. I love the passing from Coyle and Freddie to set it up. I will admit, I think it was, I'm forgetting now, whoever has the primary assist. I think it was Frederick. Mm-hmm. When he passed it back to McAvoy, I thought he was just going to shoot it. And I was like, shoot the puck. But the moment you see McAvoy come in with steam, I'm like, oh, wait, no, sorry, my bad. Good call. Especially when it goes in the net. Big fan of that.
Did you know that Chuck didn't have a shot on goal in the 3 prior games?
I did not know that either.
6 in this one?
Yeah, and they mentioned on Morning Brew that was his first shot on goal of the series. I was like, what? That's like, what are you talking about? I would have fought you tooth and nail if you told me that, and I had no way to disprove you. Mm-hmm. The fact that not only does he show up and get one, but then he gets 6. That's exactly what you need. We talk about shots from the blue line being important, especially against a goaltender that gives up a lot of rebounds. That's why I like Lohrei, because of his willingness to shoot. That's why I like Carlo, who already has 3 goals. McAvoy's the guy that, like, not only that's nice, it's like you need it from him. That's not even like a bonus. It's like you're Charlie McAvoy. Like, we need you taking at minimum 3 shots a game every single game all year long. And if you're not, something's going on. So that was very surprising to me. Almost as surprising, based off of my first view of the goal, is that it was challenged for goaltender interference, which, because of course it is, because life's just silly and funny and filled with all these little things that drive us crazy.
May I put some biased glasses on here for this real quick?
You may.
First of all, the pasta post game where he was freaking out, that brought me a smile on my face. But I see a lot of, I think the primary narrative here, the prevailing narrative, is that it was goaltender interference, but it was the right call to probably let it go, given like the story of the series. I vehemently disagree.
I agree with you completely. Completely agree with you.
I don't think it was goaltender interference whatsoever. And like,
no,
it's just another great example of Paul Bissonnette being a guy with thoughts that happen sometimes that are not always the best thoughts, but vehemently saying that goal shouldn't have counted. There's been a standard set in the fucking series, brother. I don't know if you ever played in the NHL, but I would do your best to remember in there that officiating is really only asked one thing, and it's to be consistent. Do you remember that? Is it ringing a bell? And when you establish a line, you hope that line maintains throughout the series. So if Sam Bennett cross-checking Charlie McAvoy into the goalie was not goaltender interference, but a little skate bump at the top of the crease 3.5 seconds before the shot is taken is goaltender interference, those don't really seem consistent now, do they, Paul? Those doesn't really seem consistent to me. So no, it's not goaltender interference by the consistency of the series. More importantly, by the fucking rule book, because OEL is the one who knocked Bob's stick out of his hands. That was the first thing. And then it was like, oh, okay, that wasn't him. And then it was like, oh, Heinen's skate kind of bumped Bob's. Okay. Did he get set afterwards? Did he?
Yes.
Oh, he did. He squared up. He took a stride and set up and got square. He did all of those things. Then it doesn't really seem like it interfered with his ability to play the puck. Now, did it? Did it? That's what goaltender interference is, right? It's preventing the goalie. Do you have it handy again? Is it? It's preventing the goalie's ability to make the save. Doesn't really seem like that happened. That's not goaltender interference. That should have been a half of a moment review. Shouldn't have been reviewed.
Yeah, I'm still surprised how divisive this one ended up being. Even in the Bruins fandom, Razor was adamant. He was like, that is goaltender interference. It just is. And then Billy was like, was it though? I fully agree that, yes, Heinen made contact, and then Bob had ample time to, not only did he have time to reset, he reset. Mm-hmm. And yes, it was OEL's stick that knocked Bob's out of his hand. I didn't even notice the stick at first. I thought it was purely just him making contact and couldn't get set. But even like when they asked McAvoy, which, no bias there, asking the goal scorer, he was like, when I took the shot, he looked square to me. Like, he looked set. Like, I think he said it in a way that, like, even in that moment, he was like considering the fact that, like, I know Heinen's right there. Is this going to come back? I don't think he thought that quickly where he like wouldn't have shot it. But even in that moment, he was like, he was square to me. I didn't see it, but I gained through context clues that Paul Bissonnette believed that should have been goaltender interference. Is that correct? My opinion of him is taking a hit. This
I don't know if he's doing a bit. I don't know if he's doing a bit this postseason, but he's like trying to be as unlikable as possible, dude. What
drove me crazy is that after Game 4, he interviewed Bennett, and it was just throwing him softball after softball, and it was just like, "Oh, public enemy number 1 in Boston. Like, how's it feel?" It's like, "What do you think about the goal? Do you think it should have stood?" And like, "Oh, like you think it hit Marchand. What do you think about it?" And I was like, I obviously he's public enemy in Boston right now, number 1 in Boston right now, Sam Bennett, that is. But just like seeing that shit where he's just like, "Oh, isn't it funny that this team doesn't like you because you keep fucking them over shit that should be getting called?" I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me. And obviously all the round one shit with him like being like banging the Toronto Maple Leafs drum, and then just I don't know. I'm sure he's deeply upset to hear that I think less of him now. I'm sure he will lose at least a little bit of sleep. He won't even show up to work tonight. Was that who that was?
Yeah.
So that was I felt that was a good goal, but because everything is terrible, I was like, it's coming back. I felt it was coming back, not because I thought it should have, but because how perfectly would it fit the narrative that they would challenge for goaltender interference when there wasn't any, and then they get the call. Somebody, buddy texted me, it was just like, Boston's going to burn the city to the ground. Like if they overturn this goal, the go-ahead goal, the eventual game winner, which we didn't know at the time, but it was over nothing. This one's for your dad. There's a good clip going around of Bob Beers during that, like the call during that, and he's saying it so quietly that it almost feels like a hot mic moment where he's just like, it's a dive, same as last game. It's almost comical. It really is. It's almost comical. Like he's like saying it in a way that like he's forgetting that he's on the air. He's just like, when I first heard it, I'm like, is this a hot mic moment? I'm like, oh no, they're just very much on the air.
That's awesome. No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, but like everybody rallying around Boston right now. Everybody's like, "Wow, Florida sure dives a lot." You're like, "Yeah, they really do," and it's really vindicating because obviously the people being a fandom of the team they're playing against, like, yeah, like it's not unheard of that we're like, we don't like them, we think they're diving. But when you have 31 teams out of the 32 being like they're diving, it's like, yeah. They are. They are. So they challenge, they lose. I'd say a good opportunity to throw in here. Even PK Subban was like, Bob had plenty of time to reset. That's it.
Yep. Important to remember that. Yep.
Thank you, PK. Bruins power play is terrible.
Weird that Razor would be on the opposing side of that. It's just, I guess I think it's the
goalie bias.
It's just weird that your goalie bias would come before your Bruins bias, but it's just I don't know.
I don't know. I think him being a bit more of a professional than like a straight up Bruins homer. Like if Jack used to be a goaltender, I bet that he would still say that was a good goal. But he even said that other people who were goaltenders were texting him being like, that's goaltender interference. But like, that's the goalie bias being like, yeah, you guys would want everything called goaltender interference. So the Bruins go in the power play because it is an unsuccessful challenge, which is still one of my favorite things in sports. I think it's so funny that like, hey, that didn't count. Like, yes, it did. Fuck you, penalty. Like they call it a delay a game for an unsuccessful challenge, but I just think it's a penalty for making us injury. Kick you while you're down. Fuck you. You only get 4 guys. They got outshot on their own power play because their power play is but would love if they could play it so differently. It's not even a tweak. Just burn it to the ground. Do something completely different because what you're doing does not work.
A square one reset would not be a bad thing for the power play right now whatsoever. Yeah, no, because I mean it's everything about it. It's the zone presence. It's the break in. It's the like initial breakout of the zone, like the whole ice presence from end to end it's wrong. It's flawed. It's not working. 2, that's the other thing is it's not working. So that should tell you just how not good it is.
It's surreal watching like Florida's power play. I'm like, why are you all in the zone? Why? How did you get in here?
Dude, like I feel a very similar way where I'm like, that's what a power play is supposed to look like, isn't it? You're supposed to like have the puck in the offensive zone.
It's like, well, if you watch the Oilers power play, just give them the goal and move on. Like, don't even.
Oh my God.
It's actually unfair. Draisaitl has 20 points already.
So obnoxious, dude. So
Hyman has 9 goals. Dude, Edmonton's stupid good. So good. Really so glad they're over there. But yeah, Bruins power play, the opposite. Shortly after this, Frederick had a really great scoring chance. It was off of a really clean entry from him in Coyle. He made a nice touch pass to Coyle, and then Coyle did that great like hand twisting pass and got it right back over to Freddie, who had a ton of space. And he looked like he wanted to one-time it, but the puck like exploded on his stick. So he had to take an extra beat to settle it and then try to sneak it 5-hole. But Bob made a very good save. Again, I don't think he looked great in general, but this game he made some big saves, that being one of the biggest. Because that would have been Boston going up 3-1 in pretty quick succession and like really taking all the momentum, especially after an unsuccessful challenge and them kind of fucking up their own power play, but taking it right back. And then Mason Lohrei. Do you have something?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. Mason Lohrei is called for a hooking on Luostarinen. There has not been a more obvious dive in this series, which again, saying something. I want someone to add in the audio of the banana peel fall because that's all that happens. Lohrei has his stick on him, and Luostarinen, you might as well have looked at Lohrei, winked, and then just collapsed. Like, that's basically what happened. Like you watched him whoop, like just throw his legs out from underneath himself. To the point where they called the penalty, Lohrei was like not even looking at the ref, and the moment he hears it, Sam, he looks at him. He's like, "What?" He's like pointing at Luostarinen. He's like, "That dude, no." And that's when we get another Monty gif of him doing
the better
like,
one.
I prefer the first one myself, but I like that there's so many that we get to have differing opinions on it at all.
Did you see the lady behind him?
Yes, she's just like staring at him like, huh? What is this? Like such a mom look. Like what is he doing? What's this? This guy's silly.
I love it. I love that Monty's like I'm sure under the guidance of Sweeney or whoever sitting at the microphone being like, I'm not here to talk about the officiating. But then on the bench, like veins popping out of his bald head, screaming at him. He's going, ooh, ooh, ooh.
It's a dive. Like, it's a dive. He's playing charades with the refs. Like, it was this play that the Bob Ears comment had, and I forget when I said that it was, but this is the comment he made it on. And again, to reiterate something I said at the beginning of the episode, it's not only crazy how much Florida dives, it's crazy how consistently they get the call. Even when they dive, they still get the penalty.
There was an embellishment call in this game already. So, like, keep your fucking eye out for it, maybe.
It's like, even when they get called for diving, they still get the penalty. Like, come on, man. That's why I'm not typically it's one or the other. You can't have both. I'm like, in this instance, I'm like, maybe they've lost the benefit of the doubt and you just call the embellishment there. But that was...
And then make them work for it. Make them work for it. You'll see what's really a penalty. You'll see when guys really go down then if you start just calling embellishment calls. Yeah. It's how it works. You guys are supposed to police the game. It's how it works.
But thank God the Bruins penalty kill is like fucking rock solid. It looked great. Very calm. Excellent clears. As good as Florida's power play clearly is, the Bruins penalty kill and Jeremy Swayman, big difference maker in this game. And series, even though it's 3-2 Florida.
Yeah.
And then shortly after, Jake has a breakaway in like the closing as the penalty is expiring. He has a breakaway. Like I think he's like at the end of his shift, at the end of a PK shift. So I'm amazed he even got it as far in as he did. And he gets denied by Bob. Great save. Rebounds to Frederick. Immediate shot. Another great save. That huge for Bob. That's when I was like, somebody texted me. They're like, you got to take back what you said about Bob. And I was like, nah, I don't want to. Big time.
It means one save.
It was one save. And it was around this time that I was like, Johnny Beecher's having himself a very bad game. He made a very, very soft pass, like across the ice, like basically at the top, through the top of the crease to quite literally nobody. Like there was like one Bruin on that side of the ice. They weren't even remotely near that or even a position to start going towards it. But it went to Kyle Okposo, who luckily could not handle it and couldn't really do anything with it. But that would have been a fucking backbreaker.
That would have been a nightmare if that's how the game gets evened up.
Yeah.
Beecher
would have been benched big time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Maybe he should have been because he had another one of those later on, too.
And it's nice right now to have the officials to point at. I will say that it is nice because so much of the Toronto series was us being like, where the fuck are they? Like, where are the Bruins? I mean, like, where is our team? Can they turn it on? No one is to blame for this but the team. And to now have it be like, okay, they're playing a little better. They're a little handicapped right now, minus their captain. And like they're for the most part, other than like, volume of shots, like they're looking better. It's nice to have that to point at and be like, the officiating is fucking us. To hand the game away on your own doorstep really just changes all that. And then we got to have a whole entirely different conversation about that. I'm just glad we don't have to.
Yeah, I even tweeted something to that effect after game 4. I was like, do you know how badly you need to play to move the focus back on yourself and off of the bad officiating? Like, it was like when Toronto was complaining about the refs, and it's like, you guys got 5 power plays. It's in this one game. Like, it can't have been that bad. It's the same idea.
Yeah.
And at the end of the second period, I texted multiple people, including yourself. I was like, yeah, Bruins are lucky this game's only tied. And then everyone's like, they're winning. I was like, oh, right. Yeah, shit. Like, it just didn't feel like it at all.
No.
I think it was just the anxiety, but I was just like, oh, boy. This, like, you might as well consider a 2-1 lead over Florida in the playoffs a tie game. Like, I hope the Bruins did, at least. And third period, McAvoy gets called for roughing Sam Bennett. Which, like, if you're going to get a penalty and against Sam Bennett, get your 2 minutes worth. It was a penalty.
Yeah.
That was rough. Yeah, big time. Get your 2 minutes worth. Get up there. Get up in
I would have liked, but then also you don't know, because then your 2 minutes worth becomes 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's fair.
So you just don't know. The officiating is so inconsistent, you can't police the game.
I feel like Bennett is like strategically not being given the puck. Because the Bruins, I so desperately want them to catch him in like an open ice hit and like clean right through the body. Charlie McAvoy's special, like, good night, send you airborne kind of hit. It doesn't even feel like at any point it's possible. Like, I feel like he's somehow not getting the puck all that much. And like you said, like, I'm looking out for him too. Ekblad gets called for a slash and Pasternak. I felt like Pasta sold this one a little bit, and if we're being a little honest, just between us girls, I think that's fine. If they're gonna, it's hypocritical maybe, but whatever. It's no fun if they're the only ones who get to do it.
No,
but it doesn't matter, because the Bruins will then hand over another power play to Florida because of too many men. Which
is this like an actual issue?
I don't know. People are like, it's Monty. I'm like, maybe in general, but in this specific instance, it's on Peak and Lindholm. Peak like pump fakes going for a line change, or he's like skating the bench. Lindholm comes off, and then he's like, fuck it, no, I'm staying. And Lindholm jumps on. If you come on before the guy comes off in that scenario, it was too early, and he comes off too early and immediately plays the puck, or goes to. And I thought they were calling it a trip at first, because it looked like he tripped him up. Even the play-by-play is like, Lindholm trips him up. But nope, too many men. Oh my God.
Too many.
Too many. People keep also pointing out that there's only 2 other teams that have taken this many too many men penalties. And I think it was like the 91 Penguins and Edmonton at some point. And both of them went to the final, which I'm like, yeah, that's because, wow, the team that played 20 games found a way to do it 6 times. It's like, we did it in 12, bitches. Like, it's like, imagine how many we're going to take if we go to the final. We're going to play a whole fucking series shorthanded.
It does make sense.
What do you mean to get up 6 guys?
It does make sense why the teams that would have the most of a counting stat would be like, whoa, they made it all the way to the finals. Well, yeah.
It's like, they played the most.
It's a counting stat.
Yeah, they played for 2 months. Like, it's very likely at that point.
Yeah.
It's like, vending machines kill more people than sharks. It's like, yeah, we don't have sharks in the lobby of every fucking building.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, that was great. But that, again, penalty kill's huge, so it was a non-issue. Nearing the again 2-1 lead over Florida in this game, in this context, I felt so uncomfortable the entire time. I was so
literally until the last second.
Yeah, like yeah,
like
even when they cleared it
until
at the end, I thought it was going to come back.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Pasta had a really great.
I was more referring to like the final 10 seconds, like the Swayman save.
That's exactly what I mean too. Well, that and the clearing attempt, but yes, obviously the Swayman save. But with only like 3.5 to go, Pasternak had a really great opportunity to extend the lead, where he went like standing still went backhand, forehand, and pulled a Jake where he beat Bob 5-hole, and then it missed the net on the other side of him.
I mean, rarely am I like shoot the puck, and I know it's David Pasternak, and he knows more than me, but to see a guy closing in on Pasta while he's like, just standing alone in front of the net, I was like for his safety, I was like, Pasta, shoot, Pasta.
He's got a gun.
He's behind. Pasta's right behind you.
Yeah, I in those moments, I'm like, ooh, we're going to get a Pasta special. Like, he's going to do some shit like that. And more often than not, I feel like that puck's going to go in. I think he even had a staring at the rafters moment. He was like, I can't believe I didn't put that in.
Yeah.
Then Montour, do you see Montour's between the legs shot in the closing minute? It was like, 6-on-5 play, very frantic, everything on net. And something from the blue line gets shot, and he kind of blocks it in the high slot, and he has his back to Swayman, and he just between his legs, backhands it between his own legs, and with some pepper on it too. Swayman had to make a very good save on it. It's easy to lose it, but that would have been crazy. There was a lot of almost goals in the last minute or two that any
if
one
the
of
season ends on that kind of shit. Come on,
it's like in Game 7 against Toronto, how the puck almost went in off Wotherspoon's skate in the crease. It's like, don't you fucking dare make me watch that play for 5 months, you assholes. It's kind of the same thing. And then the Swayman save, Swayman save of this game. Montour making what would have been one of the grossest passes I've ever seen. Well, he did make the pass. He made the pass. So it is one of the grossest passes. But in the corner boards, battling for the puck, and you just throw it blindly backhand, and it just threads the needle past everybody, past skates and sticks, and through the crease, finding the stick of Haggerty.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't have asked for a better scenario for them to try to tie the game. Then, what if somehow Verhaeghe's all alone next to Swayman, and who has to move laterally
to his stick side,
with 4 seconds left, and they did it. And I'm telling you, I still don't understand this save. It looks like he's going 5-hole, and Swayman has the stick there, but there's something about the speed of it, and I can't wrap my head around exactly what Swayman did, but it doesn't matter because Swayman did save the puck. Oh my God. My heart left my body for a moment when it was slow motion watching that pass go over. I'm like, and there it is. Because you feel it. You always feel on a 6-5, especially with the Bruins this season. You always feel the goal coming.
For sure. I mean, as the pass was coming across, I was already starting to creep out of my chair. You know what I mean? I was just the fear stance, that I just got to stand up because I'm scared. But Swayman makes it look easy. That's the difference between him and Bob. Bob makes it, I don't want to say routine, but a tough save look like a miracle save, and Swayman makes a tough save look like
nothing.
He's in practice.
I think that's a very succinct way to describe the difference between these goalies, and I completely agree. Swayman's the best goaltender on the planet right now. He just is.
Yeah, he just is.
Somebody, a comparison I liked is Vasilevsky in terms of what he's doing for the team. Very much rally around me, guys. I'll be the star every night. It's fine.
I mean, difference being Vasilevsky, because I assume that you're talking about in years past, not this year.
Oh yeah, big time. I'm talking 2018, when
difference
they were
those teams
walking through people.
They had Steven Stamkos and Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point, and they had a crazy team.
Don't they still have all of them?
A lot. They don't have Point anymore.
Where'd Point go?
He went to Tallahassee. He's just hanging out there. I think he's golfing.
Good for him. No, he's on the Lightning.
Yeah, he's on the Lightning. But now he's golfing in Tallahassee right now.
You were making a joke.
Yep.
You were making a silly.
It's goofy.
That's my bad. I'm new to humor. I'm new to it. I'm figuring it out. I'll get it one day. It's fine.
They don't have Stamkos anymore. They actually don't.
Maybe.
I know right now they don't.
Maybe. No, they don't. They not.
They don't.
They don't. They technically do not have Steven Stamkos. No, because his contract is no more. General impression. I mean, so that's the game. Bruins win the game, 2-1. General impressions. Everybody was like, ourselves included. We're like, what the fuck's up with McAvoy? Big McAvoy game, and not even just for the assist and the goal, but even defensively. He graduated to mostly being invisible for me defensively, where I was like, I noticed him a lot offensively, but defensively, I'm like, no. And I never say that in a bad way. Whenever I say that about a defenseman, I mean it in a very positive light.
Yeah.
Terrible game for Beecher, honestly, like easily his worst, which
Tough game for Beecher.
He strikes me as a guy who will then respond with a fantastic game. I think he's got enough grit and enough in the tank where he will not string 2 of those in a row.
Yeah.
And Coyle and
for
Geeky.
Beecher, great game for Coyle, Geeky, McAvoy.
Yes.
That was my 3. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those were the big 3 of this game. And Swayman goes without saying. Whenever.
Obviously.
Like, but Swayman too. We're like, we know Swayman.
Yeah. He gets
who's your favorite Bruins player? Bergeron. Well, yeah, I know it's Bergeron, but like beyond
I'm talking beyond Bergeron. Yeah.
Naturally. Joey Copponi. Funny guy.
I can't edit yours, but I was going to make
true.
yours say new to humor.
Funny story. True story.
Yeah.
That's I'm very happy to see that Geeky was so good with the puck tonight. So good in the board battle. So good in just one-on-one battles around the net. Brazeau continues to be really good. I would really like to see him get on the score sheet again. I don't think he's far from it. And everybody else is like, yeah, fine. I think it was a really good effort. They have a lot of shit they can still figure out. But it's funny what happens when you play a fairly simplified game where you concentrate on getting pucks on net. You win. Whoa. Now you're coming back to Boston? Coming back. I'm a little worried about the next game being in Boston, and I'll tell you why, Joe.
I know. I hate that I am, but I am too.
I'll tell you why.
Hit me.
In the Bruins Florida series, in the 12 games between this series and last season, the home team has a record of 3-9, which is surprising. Which this postseason more than any other one has really amplified to me. I'm like, why do we give a shit so much about getting home ice advantage if we just lose at home?
I've been saying, Rob.
Like,
there's
I don't
not
give
enough
a shit
on the line for 82 games. There's not enough on the line for 82 games to get home ice advantage when it's not even a fucking advantage. You
did talk about that. You very much did talk about that.
It's not an advantage.
Also, Laurie only played like 11 minutes that game, which is really low. Is that a coincidence that you limit Laurie's numbers and then you win?
Well, Laurie was paired differently.
That's true. Yeah, the pairings were different.
I would argue, which I would argue is probably helpful to Chuck because, I mean, it just makes a ton of sense. Like, you can't put 2 offensive defensemen together. It limits one of them, and it's probably going to be the veteran guy, not the young kid. You know,
normally I think it's fine, but McAvoy's play not being at its peak. Not an Andrew joke.
Well,
I think that you end up just having a struggling star defenseman and a like emerging defenseman. That's a tough duo.
Yeah, I don't know, but like having McAvoy with just a real defenseman, where like it gives.
I'm sorry, who is McAvoy? Who was McAvoy with this game?
He was with Wotherspoon and Lindholm.
You're right. It was Wotherspoon. Yeah, because I saw a tweet there. Like, if you told me at the beginning of the season Charlie McAvoy in the playoffs would be paired with Parker Wotherspoon, I would say, who the fuck is Parker Wotherspoon? Yeah, fair.
Funny.
I got some statistics here because I like
hit me with the statistics.
Charlie Coyle is leading the NHL in hits this postseason with 56.
Oh!
The Bruins have 4 of the top 6 hitters in the league right now in the postseason. That being Coyle at 1, McAvoy at 3, Frederick at 4, and Jake DeBrusk at 6.
What?
Yeah, look at the box score at like any game, and DeBrusk has like 5 to 6 hits. It's like he just finishes every check. That's it. He just finishes every check. I swear to God, if he's out there, just watch him. He never doesn't finish a check.
Who called him a power forward this year? Was it Sportsnet?
Someone who doesn't watch Jake DeBrusk or has ever seen a photo of Jake DeBrusk.
I think it was like the clip of him with his dad. Like Louis was doing Sportsnet stuff. And it was like, oh, tough guy Louis DeBrusque and his son, now the new tough guy, the new power forward, the hard hitting,
new goon,
the goon of the Boston Bruins, Jake.
And my brain is just playing the video of him dancing in the hotel room, like, oh, like, yeah, that's the muscle, that's the guy. A couple more. Charlie McAvoy is also third in blocked shots with 33. Trouba has 45. Trouba would be awesome if he didn't suck at, trying to decapitate people. And McAvoy is also the 7th highest time on ice in the playoffs with 25-30 per game. And I tweeted this, and I'm going to say it again because it's funny. Leading in penalty minutes is David Pastrnak with 25, which definitely comes from the game when everybody just got the boot and he got a fighting major. So that's 15 right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. No, he didn't get a misconduct.
Yeah, he did.
He did?
Yeah. Fucking everybody did. Big time. Yeah, dude, at that point in the game, they were kicking people out for way less than physically fighting each other.
I mean, I don't think you get a misconduct on top of the fight. You just get the fight. It was in the...
Not normally, but they gave him one to kick him out.
Oh.
Yeah, because they can't just kick him out for a fighting major. They're like, all right, you're out of here. And as a consequence of getting ejected, you get a 10-minute misconduct or whatever order you want to say those two things in.
I think, it's they gave him a 10-minute misconduct in the final 10 minutes, therefore making him.
Yeah. But I mean, it's still a misconduct.
Yeah.
Now's a great time to talk about how much I dislike Paul Maurice. Paul Maurice. Start with the game 4 media scrum and again, in the context of the goaltender interference challenge for the Sam Bennett, Coyle, Swayman nonsense. I forget who it was, but it was an ESPN writer that he kind of Maurice called out because he asked him about it and Maurice gave his explanation of how he felt about it. And of course, Maurice was like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's a good goal. And he was like, yeah, and I see some of you out there like furrowing your brows at me like you are. And he's just like, oh, yeah, no, I just think it's an interesting take. He's like, all right, well, you stick with Boston because you're the Boston guy. And he's like, I'm from Brooklyn. And it's just like Paul, yeah, like no, only someone with the Boston bias could ever imagine that should have been called goaltender interference.
You're just making yourself look worse as it goes. Just like keep going.
Yeah. And then the comment he made after game 5 was, quote, about this is regarding game 6. He's like, oh, it'll be a barn burner. He says, there'll be 18,000 cameras on the morning skate just to see how many sips of the water bottle Brad Marchand takes.
Fuck yourself.
Then the rest of the quote's even worse, actually, which I didn't write down. But he just comes off so condescending that it's actually unbelievable. The rest of the quote being, there's going to be some high-end investigative journalism. Guys, go home and get a nap because you got some shit to do in a couple days. Being like, yeah, you guys got to make stories out of nothing. Scurry off.
It's like people are so much more invested right now than ever before. Like, what are you talking about? People making stories.
People are like, clear.
This is something. This is the stuff. This is all year, you fucking moron. You lead up to this month and a half. You know that, right? This is like your job. Like the money you make is because of this time of the year where people get fucking interested. Like, you know that? And I hate that shit so much. Like, the media's making shit out of nothing. Well, the media makes people interested in the fucking product, right? Like, you understand how this fucking works?
Yeah, and sorry if we're interested to see how our captain is doing after your player concussed him and then you went on record and was like, no, we didn't. Don't look into it. You are all lying.
To be like, oh, also, it's like you're going to check on how Brad's doing? Yeah, because he got a brain injury from your player.
Yeah.
Fuck yourself.
Also, him just being like, oh, he's high investigative journalism. You guys got some work to do. Okay, quick little reality check. Hockey's a game. We're all making a career out of a game. All of this is silly. All of it is. You get paid to coach a game. And we love it. And we give our hearts to it. And it matters to us. It's a game. So you to be like, yeah, but what you're doing is unimportant. It's like, guy, like, come on. Like, it's like it either all of it matters or none of it does. Like, there's no in between here. It's
and also to like use that condescending, like, ooh, do your journalism. It's like, that's what they are. You know what I mean? Like, if you were talking to somebody who thought they were a journalist to then shit on them and be like, ooh, what are you, some high-end investigative journalist? That, like, that's where that condescending voice plays. But to say to a journalist, like, ooh, what are you going to do, journalism? Yes. I get paid by a newspaper or a website to do that. So like, I don't understand why your condescending tone is present. Fucking moron.
There was like a reply I saw, which was so confusing to me to it. It was like a Florida fan being like, I don't know what people think he's supposed to say here without incriminating his team. I'm like, what quote do you think you're responding to right now? Like that's, what are you talking about, incriminating your team? He's just a fuck. I don't like his attitude. His Robert California ass vibe. I said it before in like very quick passing. It's kind of reminds me of, but every time I watch him talk, I'm like, that's just who he is. That like, I am so above all of you. I don't even want to pretend to hide that's how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
That is the impression he gives me. Some more Florida Panther fan nonsense. Joe's got to go.
Joe's got to go in a few. Joe's got to wrap it up.
Okay, I'll burn through my last few thoughts here.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw it, but there was a moment that Danton Heinen had his hands on the throat of Lundell, and some Panthers fans, a little bit. Some Panthers fans were like, "NHL not going to look into this player safety," and people are like, "Do we need to show you the clip where Lomberg choked out Frederick last year, like suffocating him in an elbow lock?"
Well, he got suspended for that. Remember?
Oh, you're right. There was consequences for those actions. It's fine.
Wait, Rob, I was kidding. No, there wasn't.
Not again. Joey Copponi, funny guy. This humor thing. I'll get it. I really like Bob Wisniewski. I like his play-by-play quite a bit. I think he has some very good calls. And that's his last game of the playoffs, which I don't know why, which is upsetting. I like he's got a really good voice for goals. That's a little upsetting. Yeah. Pasta's last 5 games without Brad Marchand. 6 goals, 6 assists, 28 shots on goal, +5. So we got the Ewing effect going. Also, please bring Brad Marchand back. Somebody brought it up, the Ewing theory. It's the idea that teams play better without their star player, named after, I'm assuming it's from Patrick Ewing. You could talk about it with Matthews, too. So Matthews was out. The Maple Leafs were winning.
Mm-hmm. I've just never heard that term. Basketball.
Yeah. Right? Home series record being really bad. Geeky's Twitter handle is GMoneySlick, which that went under the radar for a while. Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Yep. Posting rare Caponi's worked. We got to keep doing that. Maybe I'll post a rare Tocci. Perhaps the video of me. We might need to post it.
The dancing video?
The dancing
video. Ding-a-ling-a-ling?
The ding-a-ling-a-ling video. We might have to post it. What else? Oh, another quick PK Subban being a dumbass thing, talking about the Bennett goaltender interference thing. He would try to take it back to, he was like, well, you were on the penalty kills. Don't even put yourself in that position to begin with. I'm like, it was a dive by OEL. Shut up. Also, Max Struss of the Cleveland Cavaliers wore a Florida Panthers jersey to TD Garden today, the day after Florida lost, which I am not a basketball guy, but I am under the impression that he was here and it was a bitter exit of some sort. And now he's just being a weenie about it. I wouldn't know. Weird. If you know more, please explain this to me.
What's his name?
Max Struss, Strus.
He played in Boston.
I don't know. It's entirely.
I don't
possible.
think he did. I don't know.
Okay, somebody. There were some comments alluding to the fact that they're like, "Get over it," like, bro. I don't know. I'm trying to very rapidly look this up. No, he did not play in Boston. He played for Miami before this. I don't know. There's obviously some history. Someone explain this to me. Other than that, we'll let you get out of here. I'm more excited for Game 6 than I was for Game 5. The only thing worrying me is the home ice disadvantage.
I hate it. Fix it, NHL. Ghost win. 82 games, ghost win. I'm telling you, higher seed, ghost win the whole way.
Powerful.
2 wins in the first round. What? He's crazy. I don't care. Did want to shout this out. I have to shout this out. Horrible change in pace, but I have to say it. Yesterday was the 10-year anniversary of when the Montreal Canadiens eliminated the Boston Bruins, Game 7, which means today is the anniversary of when my Uncle Rob died. So biggest Bruins fan I've ever known. Thank God that their season did not end on the 10-year anniversary. I think my mother would have, she would have had a coronary, and we would have had a whole situation on our hands, and then it just would have been a horrible, a double horrible date. So thank you, Boston Bruins, for not killing more members of my family by losing playoff games.
Thank you, McAvoy. Very cool.
Very cool of you to save my mom's life. Just like I said, 10-year anniversary of my Uncle Rob dying. Biggest Bruins fan I knew. Got literally buried in a Bruins jersey. So, shout out to him, I guess. It's a dumbass way to say that, anniversary, thinking of you, love you, miss you. You would be up in arms about the officiating in this series, as we all are. But thank you to you guys for listening, for sharing this podcast with your friends, being like, damn, you guys got to hear these guys. There's one of them who's wicked funny and the other guy's new to humor, so you should check them out.
But he's figuring it out.
He's getting there. And then, thanks for following us on Twitter, at @bearwithme_pod, following me at Joey Copponi, him at Rob Tocci, and you can subscribe to us on Apple, fucking Spotify, YouTube.
Give us a quick little rating. Throw some 5 stars.
Do it. Thank you. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for,
bearing with me. I bought a Matt Patra signed puck also.
Don't tell people that.